Welcome. Do you want to be a cloudy mother chucker? Well, today I'm going to teach you how to build some cloudy mother chucking coils. Check it out. Alright folks, welcome to my how-to video. In this video I'm going to show you how to build a two-stage heating coil, which is what I have today on this Zephyr Buddha. And I'll be honest, it's one of the cloudiest coil builds that I've built in a while. And I definitely want to share the how-to aspect of how to build one of these coils with you guys that don't have that much experience in building yet. Let's take a couple drags off of this bad boy. Definitely cloudy. It's definitely what you want if you're looking for clouds. And the flavor is there too. Depending on what you are using RDA wise to put this build on, I recommend going with a 26650 RDA, which is an RDA that's around 28.5 millimeters to 30 millimeters. You can use the Buddha, which is, I highly recommend this RDA if you're looking to build some bigger size coils, because there's plenty of room. The deck, come in a little closer, the deck is huge on this RDA and you have lots of room. You have the T-post for the positive post, so you have a lot of room to build those big, thick, nasty coils that's going to produce lots of vapor. And you also have a lot of room for your wicking, for your cotton, and it'll hold a lot of juice. This juice well is deep and you will hold a lot of juice. Check it out. This thing fires off like a beast. I'm gonna juice it up one time, hit a couple clouds, and we'll get into everything you need for a coil build. Got her juiced up. Right now in this unicorn bottle I have some Water Hog by Mexos. Cowabunga, dude. Right here I've got a layout of some of the basic tools and accessories you will need for a coil build. Of course, starting with the wire. And all you beginners, don't let all the different types of wire kind of drive you crazy. If you're a beginner, I would definitely start off with Kanthal, and you can work with different gauges and you can work your way up from there. But you've got your Kanthal, you've got your Nichrome, you've got your nickel wire, which is for temp control mods only, and then you've got wire like this, which is a flattened Kanthal, and you have your specialty wires like electrode wires. There's a lot of different brands out there. And then for a basic coil build, I really recommend any beginner to go out and get you a Curo Concepts coiler, and this will be your pride and joy when building coils because it makes it so much easier. Alright, you've got all your basic screwdrivers, you've got your nail clippers if you need to clip wires. You definitely need to get you some ceramic tip tweezers. That way you can press down on the coils while you're firing them off, and you won't cause any harm to anything. And here's the stainless tweezers. You've got your cutters, and you've got your needle nose. And you can also wrap on a drill bit. If you have some drill bits that are 3 millimeter, 2.5 millimeter, something like that, it's fine to use drill bits to wrap on too. Alright, and we have our cotton to do our wicking. I highly recommend some cotton bacon. I love this stuff. But if you can't find this, which you should be able to find it at any brick and mortar, you can get you some Japanese cotton, organic cotton. You definitely need a meter. And a lot of people like to use a torch to heat up their wire before they do their building because it kind of softens it and makes it a little easier to work with. Alrighty, let's get into it. After we've seen all the accessories and tools you'll need, let's go down for a build. Alrighty peeps, for today's build we are going to be building a 2-stage heating coil, which means you're going to have a smaller wire that ramps up first to help heat up the larger wire. And today you're going to need a strand of 22 gauge Canthal, probably about, I say about 12 inches long, so you have two 6-inch pieces. But I've got them cut in just one strand. And then you're going to need also a 12-inch piece of 24 gauge Nichrome. And like I said before, I do recommend using a pretty good sized deck on this RDA for this build. Today I'm using the Buddha. You at least want to have a RDA that has a T-post for the positive post, which means it's going to have 4 post holes like this RDA has. Alright, let's get down to the wrapping and I'll show y'all how to wrap these coils. Alright, getting down to wrapping this coil, I'm going to be using the Curo concepts to help me out a little bit. And I'm going to be wrapping on the 3mm post. So if you have a 3mm screwdriver or drill bit or anything like that, you can use that as well to wrap on. Alright, and we're going to be starting with the 22 gauge Nichrome. Alright, when you're wrapping the 22 gauge, you're going to leave a spacing in it. You don't want, on this coil, you don't want it to be tightly wound, because you got to have a spacing to wrap your 24 gauge Nichrome in between. Give me a second here, it's kind of hard to get in the view of the camera. And we're going to be doing 6 wraps on the 22 gauge Canthal. Alright, let's check this out. Once you get your 22 gauge Canthal wrapped around, it should look something like this. This is 6 wraps, and you don't want the wraps to be right up against each other. You want spacing in between them so you can go back and put your 24 gauge Nichrome in between these wraps. Alright, once you have it looking pretty good like that and you've got spacing in between your wraps, you can go ahead and begin with your 24 gauge Nichrome. Let me go ahead and cut this piece in half. Alright, like I said before, the Curo coiler, it definitely helps with coiling, especially for beginners. If you were just doing a simple coil build, you use this end right here and you put your wire on and you slide it over and you just spin it as many times as you spin it, as many times for as many wraps as you want, and it makes a perfect coil every time. But today, since we're doing this type of build, you can't really use that. Alright, now you're going to go in between the spacing of the 22 gauge Canthal with your 24 gauge Nichrome. And you want to pull it really good and tight in between there so you have a really tight wrap on it. Alright, I'll be right back to show you what this is going to look like. Alright, once you get your 5 wraps of your 24 gauge Nichrome and the spacing of the Canthal, then you can take this, since how I'm using this and I had to slide the wire through that little catch hole, you're going to pull the wire out, and we're going to straighten it out a little bit. And this is where the needle nose and stuff like that is going to come in handy, because you can grab your wires and pull them tight and get that really nice wrap. You can actually use something like this to kind of push in on the base and kind of get it pulled in. And see, now we already have a pretty good looking coil already. Again, it's going to be 6 wraps with the 22 gauge Canthal, and then you're going to take the 24 gauge Nichrome and run 5 wraps in the spacing of the first coil. And it's going to come out like this. So 6 wraps of the 22 gauge Canthal, 5 wraps of the 24 gauge Nichrome. Alright, once you get it off of this, you can go ahead, and I always like to keep my coil on whatever I wrapped it on and trim it up with the cutters a little bit. That way you can get it installed onto your posts. Alright, and after you've trimmed them up, your coil is going to look a little something like this. You always want to keep one side a little bit longer than the other so you can get that side in first, and then you can work your other side of your coil into the post. Alright, we're going to go into the positive first, and then slide this end into the negative. And it always helps to keep whatever you wrapped your coil on in the coil, because it will help it stay straight and even, especially when you're tightening it down. And I do like to have a little angle, a little slant with my coils like this as well. That way they stay good and tight. The coil stays really tight like this. Alright, and depending on what kind of screws you have in your post, this one is going to be a flathead. You get your screwdriver. Make sure you keep whatever you're wrapping your coil around inside that coil when you tighten down. Tighten this bad boy down. And I do want to tell you guys, while I'm building this coil is a super sub-ohm coil. I recommend using a 26650 mod or a dual parallel 18650 mod. Anything else like a series or any type of Sigeli 150 or anything, you don't want to, which you can't even use this build on anything like that, because the ohms are going to come out to a 0.08. So if you want to make this build and put it on something like that, you're going to have to add at least a wrap to each one of your coils, maybe even 2. So you can add in 1 wrap, it'll get you at about a 0.11, and you can add another wrap and it'll get you a little higher, like a 0.15 or so. Alright, let's tighten this other post up. Alrighty. And once you have it tightened down, you can use this and kind of pull it. You can use like your screwdriver and put in here and kind of pull this 3mm screwdriver or whatever you're using to wrap around, kind of pull it out and push it down, and it'll straighten that coil up and get everything good and neat. Then you can pull it out and go ahead and cut off your excess wire. Alrighty, and there is the first side to this dual coil build. So let's go ahead and get this other coil made and get it on here, and I'll get it hooked up to a mod and show you how to ramp it up and get it straightened up a little better. Alright, once you've repeated that process and built another coil exactly the same, and you screw it down on the other side of your deck, you'll have something looking like this. Alright, and this is where it comes in handy to have a set of screwdrivers that are different sizes, just in case you don't use a 3mm, you use something that's like 2.5 to wrap on. You can have a screwdriver that's the same size, and you'll be able to put that screwdriver in that coil to move it around a little easier than using this. And you can move that coil around to try to position it better, to center it up like so. You can take and push in on the other one like so, and you can take it and pull it away from the post, and that'll also help. I'm gonna screw it down to a mod. Makes it a little bit easier once you've got the coils on there to straighten them up and all that. It makes it a little easier to put it on a mod so you have something to grip and hold on to. Make sure you either have your fire button locked or no batteries in your mod, because you can fire it off and it wouldn't be good. Alright, doing it this way, we can pull this way. Alright, let's fire this thing off and see what it's gonna do. See if we have some hot spots or straighten some things up. Alright, and this is where your ceramic tip tweezers are gonna come in handy right here. You just pulse fire it to begin. Always just pulse fire when you're first firing off some new coils. And take your ceramics and hold that coil together, pinch it down, fire it off, just pulsing, and do the same with the other side. Alright, and in this process you can also use some needle nose to give you a little more pressure. Fire them off, then you take your needle nose and squeeze, hold. Alright, and then do the same to the other side. These are already firing off pretty good. Alright, let's see what we got, if we got the two-stage going pretty good here already. One side is still a little late to fire, so you just mess with your coils a little bit. You can take your screwdriver, position my camera again, take your screwdriver and put it in the coil, and don't fire it while you're doing this, and just move it around a little, and it'll help get rid of any hot spots or anything like that. Let me get my Phillips. Alright, let's see what we got so far. One side still firing up before the other. Alright, let me turn this camera off for just a second and get this fixed up, because I'm kind of doing it one-handed, and I'll be right back. Alright, sorry about that. What I've done is I forgot to retighten down the screws to get that good connection after pulsing them for the first time. After pulsing your coils for the first time, you want to retighten those connections, because the wires can get a little soft and they'll lose that tight connection you had at first. So just retighten them down a little bit and everything should be good to go. So we're going to fire this off and make sure we have that two-stage heating going on. Alrighty, yeah, that looked pretty good. The 24 gauge Nichrome fires off first, and it helps heat up that 22 gauge Canthal. Looking pretty good. Let it cool down a little bit. If you noticed, I swapped mods. This is a dual parallel box that I built myself, and I recommend, if you're going to build a coil like this, anything below a 0.1, you definitely want to have some batteries that are safe. You definitely want to have 2 batteries ran in parallel, so you aren't pulling that amperage from just one battery, because once you get that low on the ohms, the amps skyrocket. Alright, let's fire this one more time, make sure everything's heating up good, and we'll wick her up. Now we're in the wicking stage. If you're not really familiar with wicking, I'm going to show you how. Right now I'm using some cotton bacon, which is this stuff right here, and it's great to work with because you pull it out and it's in one big strip, and you just pull off a strip that's around the size that you're going to need. Take your end of your cotton strip and twist it up really good and tight, like so. You're just going to take it and slide that through that coil, and you can use your tweezers and grab that piece and pull her on through. Pull it back a little bit. Alright, and this is where cutters come in handy again. Just snip off that little unwanted piece of cotton, and I'm gonna snip off this little twisted piece, and then you can take your tweezers and tuck your wicking. Alrighty, we got that side wicked up. I think this piece may work. We'll make it work, so we're not wasting any cotton. Get her through there. Pull her on through, like so. Pull back a hair, and unravel this side a little because we're going to use it, and tuck it on under. Alright, now we're going to juice her up. Put her on the mod and juice her up, and see how she clouds. Alright, we're going to juice up our coils. Right now I'm using some Foggy Bear Vapes Pink Burst to juice it up. If you're interested in ordering some of this juice, you can get with Justin Hurst on Facebook. Justin Foggy Bear Hurst, and he's got some great prices, so definitely hit him up and he'll give you his flavor list, and you can place an order with him. This is the Pink Burst, which is a pink starburst flavor. Going all over the place. Doing this with one hand isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. That's what she said. But anyway, get your coils juiced up really good, because this is a hot build. And once you got a little juice in there, we can pulse it a little bit. Put a little more juice right there on those coils, and it's going to pull that in, suck it right on into that cotton that's inside that coil. Alright, pulse it a couple more times. As you can see, we're clouding up pretty good. A couple more drops and we're good to go. I'll see you on FaceTime chucking some clouds. Alright, mother chuckers, that was the 2-stage heating coil. How to build. I hope it helps you learn a little bit about building, and hopefully it'll make it a little bit easier for you to try this yourself. This build is fairly easy. It's a pretty simple build, and hopefully I've shown you a little tricks and a little know-how so you can try this yourself and get to chucking clouds just like I am. Let's go ahead and show you what we got going here. It's real juicy right now. As soon as it dries and dies down just a little bit, it'll really start slinging the vapor. Let's chuck a couple clouds. Oh yeah. Let me check my top cap and make sure my airflow is running right. It feels a little closed off. Let's see what we got now. Oh yeah, that's definitely a lot better. Hopefully you can enjoy building this coil yourself. And remember, like I said, this coil is a super sub-ohm build. It's going to be around a 0.08. So if you're using something else other than a dual parallel box, I would highly recommend adding a couple wraps to that. And if you don't feel safe building that low, definitely add you a couple wraps to that, and it'll make it a little bit safer. And you can also use different gauges of wire. Say you can use a 24 gauge Canthal and then use a 28 gauge Canthal in the spacing, or you can mix it up. I mean, you can use a twisted Canthal and put a single strand in between those in the spacing. There's a lot of ways to do this build. This is just the most simple way to me, so that's the way I wanted to show you guys so you can get the basics of it and experience it for yourself. Alright, that's been a cloudy mother chucking session. I hope you enjoyed this how-to video. If you will, please be sure to like this video, comment, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. Y'all have a vape-tastic day and keep it cloudy.